Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and Space Jam: A New Legacy are both films that feature famous cartoon characters interacting with real-life humans. But one does it way better than the other. This is how Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers succeeded, where Space Jam 2 failed. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is a film very similar in concept to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and in fact, he makes a small cameo in the film. Which actually leads to the question, is this film set in the same universe as Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Or is Who Framed Roger Rabbit a film in this universe starring Roger Rabbit? Tell me in the comments below what you think. In this universe, the 1980s cartoon Rescue Rangers starred Chip and Dale, and then got cancelled after Dale failed to make a new show. The two characters reunite in the current day to try and save one of their friends from a bootlegger. Space Jam: A New Legacy is the sequel to the 1996 movie starring Michael Jordan. In Space Jam 2, LeBron James gets sucked into the serververse, whatever that is, and has to win a basketball game with the Looney Tunes to save his son, and then a lot of random people who get sucked into the serververse, I think. It's a bit convoluted. And that's where we start, with the plot. They are both in essence rescue movies, but how Chip and Dale go about it is more entertaining. It's more of a detective story where they're finding clues on how to save their friend, where Space Jam 2 feels like an excuse to put as many references to Warner Bros. Properties in it as possible. In the space of about 10 seconds, LeBron falls through Matrix World and Wizard of Oz World before landing on Looney Tunes World where he meets Bugs Bunny. The way Chip and Dale use pre-existing IP characters is much more precise than in Space Jam 2. Space Jam 2 just seems to throw as many of them at you as they can in a look at this guy from that thing you like kind of way. I mean, just look in the background of any of the shots in the basketball game. Where Chip and Dale use these characters but then subvert expectations with how they're used. Some gags that are shown in Chip and Dale that involve pre-existing IP cameos are Ugly Sonic, where they keep going on about his human-like teeth, Batman vs. E.T., which is a film I'd watch, and Mr. Doubtfire starring Meryl Streep. These are far more creative ways of using these IPs, and feel like they came up with the jokes and then tried to get the IP for it, where Space Jam: New Legacy feels like they had an IP and tried to shoehorn a joke around it. They did some great gags based around the bootleggers, where you see weird rip-off Simpson characters, and one of my favourite extremely meta jokes is where 4 Seth Rogen characters were all speaking to each other. They also created new characters who were heavily inspired by existing characters such as Bjornsson the Cheesemonger, who's very clearly inspired by the Swedish Chef. But they once again subvert expectations by making him essentially a drug dealer and is the connection between our main character and the villain. I suspect characters like these are in the film either because they couldn't get an IP or Disney didn't want them using these characters in that way. The villain of Space Jam 2 is entirely unimaginative. He is an algorithm called Algae Rhythm. That name is enough to hate this movie, and they say it so often it's clear the writers thought it was a great joke. It's not. He gets upset when LeBron James doesn't like his idea, so he tries to destroy the relationship between him and his son for some reason. His motivation is underdeveloped and his plan makes no sense. He wants to beat LeBron James at basketball, so I don't really know why he wants to do this, but he does. Whereas the main villain in Chip 'n Dale, who's a grown-up Peter Pan, has a vendetta against the movie industry after he was cast aside when getting too old to play Peter Pan anymore. He started making bootleg movies and now kidnaps the old stars who can't pay back loans to him to help make these movies. His motivation is clear and his plan kinda makes sense. Chip and Dale get caught in the middle of this when their friend Monterey Jack gets kidnapped by him. There's also rapping in both films. However, Chip and Dale is far less cringy. First of all, there is an actual reason within the story for them to rap, whereas in Space Jam 2, it just starts because Algae Rhythm, God I hate that name, accidentally rhymes 2 words, so a rap battle starts, and it's basically just one removed from this.
Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth.
In Chip and Dale, however, it's used to distract someone, and they're aware, a whale,
I don't eat whale!
of how bad it is and that they can't rap, whereas Space Jam plays it off as cool. It wasn't cool. The stakes at the end of Space Jam: New Legacy are almost non-existent because the scoring in the basketball game is inconsistent. It's based on a game that LeBron's son has made, and you get extra style points when you score. This basically means you have no idea how far behind or ahead either team is, and have no idea how hard it is to make up ground on the winning team. This leads to you not really knowing what's going on. And also, are the people in Algae's team like famous NBA people? Am I meant to know who they are? Because I don't. In Chip 'n Dale, the film's climax is at the bootlegging facility that they had previously raided, where Pan has captured Chip. In the rescue attempt, they break the bootlegging machine, which turns Peter Pan into the Megazord of bootleg characters. Both films set up how they beat the bad guy quite well, with the birds in Chip 'n Dale and the glitch in Space Jam. However, the connection you feel with the characters in Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers creates a much more satisfying feeling when they inevitably win.